Go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here for our fourth week of fantasy basketball talk. You're here with your man, Killer Kyle, over there in his building. I am your boy Dane Diggity. I'm here in my building. Let's recap week three, Killer. How'd your week go?
Man, the fantasy gods have blessed me yet again, man. It feels like the stock market out here, like things just continue to go up. I can't complain. Across the five leagues, I was able to win in four of the five matchups. Um, you know, I
Good.
know I handed you another tough loss in one of our leagues. Um, Yeah, and in that league in particular, it was another upset, surprisingly. But I mean, given how weird things got towards the end of the week, I mean, it turned out to be not as much of an upset as what it originally looked like. So man, so things are going well. Hoping they continue. And very hopeful for week four. How did things go on your end? How you feeling?
Uh, you know, um, not the best. Better than last week, but we've got some work to do. My teams. Only two out of five matchups went my way this week. Um, yeah, like you mentioned our matchup in Noop League. We had some funny funny things go on. Durant made a surprise comeback, and um, Jimmy and the Heat game got postponed. A bunch of other things. Thomas Bryant went down. Bunch of stuff just happened, man. Just things just happened. That's just fantasy life. Uh,
Especially in this pandemic.
yeah, man.
um,
COVID protocol is winning right now. Um, beating a lot of people, beating a lot of matchups. So yeah, I mean, better week, but not the best. We still got work to do.
oh, and I should mention, I was one free throw in two leagues from actually losing, both matchups. So literally won by one free throw. So I could have easily been, only two matchups in the win column for the week.
Yeah, I lost a couple of mine on Sunday matchup loss. You know, got to look at games played and all types of things. See what's going on, but you know, I still like what some of my players are doing, man. So I'm not totally down, and I think we have room to improve. So we'll get there. Um, but we had another exciting week in the association fantasy basketball league. Let's take a look at some of the matchups that occurred last week. We made our picks, and um, we had some surprises, or at least I did. Um, so we'll start with the top.
Yes.
Looks like everything went as planned. We both went with my Great Danes to beat BBB de Madrid. That happened. I'll say for this matchup, the one surprising thing um, is that I did not win this matchup 8-1. Um, and I'll say that I was playing against one of the players that really um, later on we're gonna have our BS of the week segment, and I'll just say that one of the players I was playing against is kind of an honorable mention for most intriguing box score of the week, which is PJ Washington. PJ Washington is blocking a lot of shots over his past 3 or 4 games, and not expecting that from him. He actually went 5 games with blocking no shots, and then came back and had 11 blocks this past week. So that I think propelled uh, BBB from beating me in blocks, and my team is usually pretty decent at blocking shots. So that was a surprise to me. Um, any
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, my thoughts was, you were certainly a lock to win, from my standpoint. As far as how the categories get drawn up, um, I figured, something closer to, an 8-1 as well. But sometimes the games played don't really roll in your favor, um, or the quality games, and you know you you walk away getting upset in some categories. But overall, very strong week,
Yeah,
to win 6 categories. Because I mean, still, he still had some quality players like Donovan Mitchell had a pretty good week. He's finally showing up, and Clarkson. I mean,
yeah,
he's the engine off the Utah Jazz bench.
yeah, yeah.
And he had a very strong week. And Chris Boucher, he's
Yeah, he's
he's
another guy.
blocked. He's
Yeah, he's blocking
yeah,
a
he's
lot of shots, and really, it wasn't close. I talk about it like it was close. It wasn't close at all in blocks.
mhm,
He destroyed me in blocks. Destroyed me. So my team is probably not going to be. I mean, I'm coming off of a team that used to have. I'm used to having more blocks. I'm used to having
mhm.
leading the league in blocks with having Turner, Miles Turner, and Mitchell Robinson on my team. This year, Mitch has not been killing everybody in blocks this year. He's been pretty, I don't know, he's been okay, but not dominant, I would say. And then I don't have Turner anymore, so we're you know average, maybe slightly above average in blocks. But not last week. We were not good, not good at all. Um, Also was expecting more threes from my team, but we'll talk about another player who did not show up for personal reasons. Uh, yeah. So, um, anyway, let's move on to the next matchup. Midtown Moneymen played the Amherst Speedsters. We both liked the Moneymen in that matchup, and um, as predicted, he walked away with this one, 7-2. Any thoughts on that particular matchup?
I mean, he's got Joker. Moneyman's got Joker, and Joker's off to a racing start. An MVP candidate. Um, and we'll talk about some of his numbers a little bit later on. And he's also got Jeremy Grant. You know, he's been playing phenomenal. Top 10, by average, as well as total stats so far this season. And he's also got DeRozan, and he's got McCollum. He's got a lot of people which are trending right now, right? And anytime you've got a lot of
Oh,
people
top
which are
three,
trending
top three total,
and which are hot,
top three in totals this season.
you're a very dangerous team. And so, you know, Money Man is hot, man. He's got all the money in the world right now
Balling.
with his roster.
Yeah, team is balling for real. Um, yeah. Outside of Shea Gilgis Alexander, for speedsters, I mean Tyler Hero played well, but just
In one game. He played well in one game. Hero,
yeah, you're
Jimmy
right.
Butler, Fit.
You're right. But I mean, he had a postponed game for Hero as well. So no Michael Porter Jr. in this matchup as well. And Yeah, this just wasn't a whole lot to combat. Like you said, the trending players that money men have. Um,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
if nothing else, we'll move on to the Beantown Bombers versus Cranston Killers, brother against brother matchup. Um, I don't remember going Beantown. I think I went Cranston. That might be a mistake. Um,
yeah. I'm pretty sure we both went Cranston Killers. You know what? I remember having we had some dialogue. Um, and then the recent news, Kevin Durant wasn't going to be playing for the week, and I mean, it just made it an easy decision for both of
yeah,
us
yeah, yeah.
to go with the Killers. I mean,
Went
they just have
Cranston.
so much. Hmm?
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm pretty sure we both went with Cranston for this one. And
Um,
yeah, surprisingly, only took the matchup by 1 point. Anything you saw
yeah,
in
and
the matchup that was surprising?
um, I see some vulnerabilities with the Killers, right? Like defense is not their strong suit, so that's certainly an area where you can beat up on them in steals and blocks, and they have a lot of high usage players, so turnovers is going to be really high. So if you want a chance against the Cranston Killers, those are especially the three categories that you want to target. And then the rebounding numbers are, as not as high as some of the elites. So, I mean, if you've got like a big, solid set of big men, especially that get out of position steals, like you've got a really good chance of beating this team despite all of the star power that they have.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Not much to add there. It was not close when it came to steals. Um, Town seemed to walk away with um, the steals and turnovers, like you mentioned, pretty handily. So um, could have
The
easily
three,
one rebounding. Um, and I'm surprised again. I'm again surprised by the threes made. Um, Cranston is still been underperforming when it comes to threes made, and I'm looking at Trey Young as the main culprit. I only one 3-pointer made by Trey Young for this past week, which is I I don't know what to say about that.
I mean, Trey Young he's got some negative on energy with some of his teammates, and they're figuring that stuff out. So I expect him to get back on track.
Yeah,
Like he's off to a dismal start to the season, but he's
yeah,
certainly a bounce back target. I
yeah.
mean, and on the other side of the ball, right? Beantown Bombers has got Zach Levine, and this guy was lights out. Like I watched a little bit of the Clippers Bulls game,
Mhm.
and Kawhi Leonard was guarding Zach Levine for a couple of plays, and it was time for Kawhi Leonard to hang it up, man. What Zach Levine was doing to him was just flat out embarrassing. Like Kawhi Leonard just looked like some random dude in your rec gym with braids. Like he was he was getting scorched by Zach Levine. And Zach Levine, you could see the confidence every time, he took him to the basket or he took some challenging fadeaway shot on Kawhi Leonard. He was just like, come on, man, you know what this is. And it was just like
I didn't see the whole
it
game.
was unbelievable.
I saw the first quarter, and what I did see was the last play I saw in that quarter was right before timeout was called by Tyrone Lue. Was the Bulls were going on a slight little run, and Zach Levine in transition just pulled up and just like I think somebody was even contesting. He just pulled up and just like wet somebody in the eye with a three. It was, and I was like, oh, like, and he just walked off like, yeah, I do this. Like, um,
He's a confident dude, and he puts in that work.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw how he was playing in that first quarter, and I was like, all right, he looks like he's due for a really good game. He was having a good week up to that point, so
mhm.
not surprised by the way he was playing. Definitely Zach Levine, what top five right now in totals, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's having a
he's
great season so far.
he's playing lights out.
All right, let's move on to Bimtown versus Frankfurt. Uh, we both liked Bimtown in that, and they walked away 5-3 in that matchup. What'd you see from either side there?
For Bimtown, we finally saw a Luca awakening, right? So Bimtown has been off to a slow start, but
Because of Luca.
one bit, yeah, one big reason, being Luca, um, and he finally showed up. Um,
Yeah.
Apparently, I heard some reports, over the past week, saying that he came into to camp, overweight and not in shape. And so his plan was the Joker plan, which he's going to play himself into it. And so it looks like you're starting to see him pick up some steam, pick up some momentum, and
Mhm.
get back into the swing of things. So I'm very excited, for what Luca's going to be doing in these coming weeks and just how well he's performed. Also, Zion is hitting free throws at 70%. So that's certainly an encouraging and promising sign. And then Booker, who was like a 90% free throw shooter last year. Um, up until this point, I think was shooting like low 70s. This past week was shooting, closer to his last year numbers at 85%. So that was pretty big. And then Middleton's continue to do do what Middleton does. So overall, a very solid week by the Bimtown team.
Yeah,
Um,
Middleton top 10 right now. I think number seven overall in fantasy based on totals. So he's been great. Booker looked like that. He had a great week in terms of scoring. Um, yeah, it was going to be. We knew it was going to be tough for Frankfurt to come away and really compete at a high level here, especially after losing Markel Fultz to a season-ending ACL injury, and
and
Marketing was out as well.
And oddly enough, Frankfurt Flyers would have pulled off the upset, if Markel Fultz doesn't go down, right?
Yeah,
Because
because
he's usually good for a steal, and his assists are
they tied.
potent.
Yeah,
So
yeah, good point. Because Bimtown only won. I should say. Well, I don't know. It could have went either ways because they lost by a block. Frankfurt, luckily got a block somewhere. Um, Chris Paul had three. Had no. No. I'm sorry. Fox had two blocks and put them up by one, and then they were tied in steals. Only two more assists for Bimtown in that matchup. So a lot of things could have flip flopped, but um,
I
definitely.
mean, I think the assist swings. I think the assist swings with
Yeah,
faults
you're right.
there.
Yeah,
The steals, I gotta believe too, especially if he's got 2 games to get it.
definitely.
The blocks is a very good point. Um, is Fultz good for 16? Nope. No, yeah, yeah. And with a 16 turnover cushion, I think they'd still be able to hold on for that. Um,
Yeah,
but field goal percentage, right? So field goal percentage was pretty close. So maybe Fultz hurts the field goal percentage, and so they lose that category. So I think, even despite false injury, they're probably still losing a 5-10, given how high the Frankfurt Flyers are shot from the field.
Yeah, and the Celtics, Bimtown Celtics shot better than what they normally would shoot in free throws. I think, right, with Zion, like you said, shooting 72% this week, um, and Luca shooting almost 80%. So that's usually a little bit lower. So, and those are both players that can take a whole lot of free throws and kind of sink you. So, um, you know, we'll watch this. This kind of plays into a little bit what we were talking about last week with Bimtown. Like, how good are they really? Um,
Hmm.
we'll have to see and watch, because right now they're number 10 in the standings, and we'll have to see how much better they're going to become the next couple of weeks. How high can they go? We initially ranked them at 5. As you predicted, that may not pan out as we thought initially.
Yeah, I suspect that they'll drop the next time we convene for power rankings.
All right, let's move on to Brooklyn. Your Brooklyn Phoenix against Solid State. You bet on yourself, and you won, man. You were right. What happened in that matchup?
Um, Brooklyn, yeah, finally bet on myself, even though I was a complete underdog. I think I've learned that you just rub on that genie bottle, and Paul George just pops out on Sunday and he gives you whatever stats you need. Paul George was phenomenal this week, and he's been phenomenal this whole season. I think he's,
Number
ranked number two. Number
number,
two, is that right? Number one?
number 2 in total.
Um, yeah, because he was just doing some incredible stuff. Like, I thought I was gonna win assists, but with Ben Simmons missing, the Sunday game, and going up against Harden on a Sunday, I thought it was curtain calls. But of
Ben,
course,
all right. You
rub
benched
on
Simmons
that.
last week, right?
Hmm.
Did you bench Simmons
What
last
was
week, or you had him in your lineup?
No, I played Ben Simmons last week.
Okay.
Um, but you rub on that genie bottle, right? And Paul George shows up with 9 assists. Like Paul George, 9 assists on that type of offense. It's just unbelievable. Um, and then from the 3-point line, team's been solid, and they did a very good job. Um, and barely won blocks. So steals was a category that I thought I was, you know, basically a lock to win, but that didn't quite pan out, you know, how I had originally intended,
Yeah.
or how I thought so. And Keldon Johnson's been phenomenal, just given across the board types of numbers. And Kyle Anderson as well, and then Joe Harris having a game, without Kyrie or KD, um, helped inflate, some of the production that I'm typically accustomed to him getting. So overall, a very solid week. The team played very well. Um, we're also fortunate um, to have Sexton only play 1 or 2 games for week 3, and that helped significantly for some of the categories that we were competing in.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and
some
then one thing, and then
dominated.
rebounds.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were gonna win rebounds, but I do know, because I own Rashawn Holmes in another league, that he had a 0 rebound game. I don't know what that was about, and what was going on, but you're playing the center position and getting 25 plus minutes a game, and coming away with 0 rebounds, man. You need to stop working on that floater crap that I see you throw up every time you're in the game. I think he's shooting something crazy like 70% from the field too, like
And
for the season.
on the flip side, uh, Keldon Johnson had almost 30 rebounds last week. Um, I mean, that's as much as even John Collins had. So
Hmm.
I wasn't really expecting that. And then of course you've got Ben Simmons, who is one of the better rebounding guards in the league. So um, yeah.
The best rebounding. I don't know if it's this season. I don't know for this season, but I
Well,
know for
him
for for like last year.
and Luca are
Um,
probably somewhere around there, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, dominate. You dominated the. It really wasn't. I mean, you edged him out in blocks, and we're two steals away from getting a seventh point. Um, so yeah, good win there against
Thanks.
our team. All right, let's go to Blake Express against the Sparrows, Syracuse Sparrows. I took the Sparrows in that one, and you correctly picked Blake Express. Um, and it probably wasn't even as close as it's showing the score, but um,
Yeah, I mean things got really funky, right? Anytime you're looking at the percentages, like things get really weird. And so like Blake Express lost field goal percentage by, five hundredths
look
of a
at the free
point.
throws. Free
And
throws
then free throws, right? Blake Express wins by, you know, two
point.
decimal points of a point.
Yeah,
And arguably, if Jimmy Butler plays for Syracuse Sparrows, he definitely gets the free throw percentage category.
yeah, I would
It's
think.
up in the air if the field goal percentage happens.
Yeah, I would think at least the free throws. Um,
And counting stats. Well, I mean, Blake
Points too.
Express unfortunately suffered the Porter injury too. So yeah, and the points.
Points
Yes, I
too.
mean this was a relatively close matchup.
And then if I'm not mistaken, I think games played was a factor here too. Blake Express had 30 games played to Syracuse only had 27. So 3 game advantage there. That's that's gonna mean something, I think, to your matchup. So
Yeah, yeah, because Seth Curry was one of the first. He was like it seems like he's like the patient zero in everything that's happening right now with the
right,
spread
right. Steph
in the
Curry went down.
NBA.
That's huge. That's huge. But somehow still won 3 pointers. Um, Sparrow. So um, okay. Let's move on to True Grit and New York Clinique. So we predicted correctly there. I mean, it's going to be tough for NY to win any matchup at this point, um, with the current level of management going on there. Um, Ja Morant
Yeah,
still in the lineup, hasn't played a game for uh, the month of January yet. Um, it's gonna be out for a while. So um, yeah, not
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, I think it went as planned. I mean, I think Clinique was actually fortunate to only lose the matchup 3-5. Um, and I think, you know, you might agree with this going forth. I don't think we need to pay much attention to a Clinic matchup. We can just, automatically fill in the box for whoever his opponent is. There's absolutely no opponent I will choose Clinic for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's pretty much a bye week, um,
Hmm.
for whoever. So that's unfortunate. Let's go to probably the most intriguing matchup of the week. The Kings Landing Kings against the Rucker Park Busters. We both pick the Busters, but it got a little, it got pretty pretty close there. We people were kind of, I think people were sweating it out in that one.
Yeah, I mean, Rucker Park only won by 5 points, right? 5 points, right? And you've got to think about this. Um, Rucker Park had um, what would that have to be? Probably like a 20 point lead, 20-ish point lead, you know, 21 point lead, and you figure, Steph Curry is going to give you 21 points against the Toronto Raptors. But man, he was just bloody awful. Unfortunately, right? The
Yeah, and
um,
he had really two bad games that week. Last week, Steph did. He had a. We'll talk about his last line, his line from last night. But um, his first game against the Clippers, uh, 13 points, um, only 29% shooting that night, one 3 pointer. So you figure two bad Curry games is probably worth, I don't know, what would you say, 40 points? Like,
yeah,
um, so
yeah, uncharacteristic.
yeah, that was unfortunate, and I know that Rucker Park also had some misfortune as well, losing Thomas Bryant in the middle of the week.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, this is a matchup that easily could have went to the Kings, and it was definitely closer than we expected it to be.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, I mean, you know, King's Landing, still continues to fight. Um, it's on off to an unbelievable start. With three of the hottest guards in the league: Curry, Ball, Lonzo Ball. I mean Lamelo Ball, and Bradley Beal. And I mean he's also got Dragic, Gordon Dragic, which isn't a slouch as well.
Mhm.
And so they're gonna be a tough out, each week, just off of that, just off of those guard anchors. And I should mention, they've got Bam, at the power forward center, which is, a big point guard in his own right. So
Dominated in the assists category, and could have easily dominated in points. I mean, they both put up a ridiculous amount of points last week. Um,
yeah, it's a lot of points.
462 to 457. That's, I mean,
Mm.
a high scoring matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, and Rucker Park had the games played advantage, right? He had two more games than Kings Landon, right? So,
Yep.
imagine if, you got the equalizer in that category. Um, so, a lot of promise.
So let's we recap the matchups. Let's talk a little bit about some of the stat lines that we were kind of like eye catching for the week. We're introducing the segment called BS of the week, where BS actually stands for box score. of the week in some cases, but we'll talk about our first our most impressive box scores. Then we'll go into the most intriguing box score. So not necessarily good or necessarily bad, just the most interesting for whatever reason. And then we'll go into our most disappointing stat line or box score, which is the real BS of the week. You can fill in what BS stands for. Um, so let's start with the most impressive, Kyle. You had for yours, you had an interesting one there, which was someone you mentioned, Zach Levine. Um,
Yeah, I mean, just, just to belabor the point, this guy has been playing unbelievable to start this season. And he continued, that streak last week. He's shooting, he was shooting at 53% for the week, as well as close to 90% from the free throw line on 19 attempts. He's, bringing out some assists. He was at like 25 for the week. And he also had 133 3 points, right? So he was, really pouring it on from the scoring perspective.
I should,
So if you,
I'm sorry, I should clarify too. I mean, we're showing the stats up here right now, but that was really from one game. This was his last game, and probably his most. Probably, I would you say his most impressive line for his week for the
oh,
week?
for sure, for sure. And I mean, it wasn't only in the box score too. It was also just in the way that he was just playing in that game. So
Right.
phenomenal performance by him.
Yeah, my most impressive BS of the week I thought was from our guy the Joker Jokic. Man, he took a look at his numbers and this was a game that he played against I believe it was Minnesota. I think it was a Minnesota game, and
Sounds about right.
he had so many of these games. Because I'm showing a 35 pointer here, but he also had a 4 3 pointer, 38 and 11 game against Dallas. They lost that game, but um, you know, he, I'm just not seeing, man. What doesn't he do? He doesn't block a whole lot of shots, but man, I mean, to have a guy who's gonna give you, you know, potentially a triple double with assists. I mean, it's just really impressive. So, 35 points, 15 rebounds. I'm not even accustomed to seeing Jokic really put up that type of scoring effort. So I thought that was really impressive there. Let's move on to the most intriguing BS of the week. For you, you had Sir Jeremy Grant, Syracuse Orangeman.
Yeah, I mean, he was all the rage of the off season, right? Because he didn't uh, re-sign with the Denver Nuggets and decided, he wanted a bigger offensive role and decided for the same money to play for the Detroit Pistons. And man, was that a good decision? If you see how well he's been performing so well in his new role with the Pistons,
Yeah.
and he's just doing a little bit of everything, and he's doing it efficiently as well. So one of his best games this week, he had 31 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, close to 70% from the field. Um, and for, a guy that you're getting, for, a couple of pennies, you know, you're making tremendous amount of profit. So, he's been the most intriguing guy, and that was one of the most intriguing performances, that I've tracked or been seeing so
Yeah.
far this past week.
Not to mention, Jokic and Jeremy Grant both play for the Midtown Moneymen. So he's having a obviously showing why he's having a great season so far. But yeah, Jeremy Grant wanted a bigger role. He got it, and multiple games this week with 31 points and 10 rebounds. Um, he, the only problem is Detroit is not winning their game. So, um, only one win in their last, I don't know, 4 or 5 games. So bigger role, more exposure, and more opportunities for Jeremy, but doesn't seem to be translating to wins, which is pretty much the same case for Zach Levine, as well as he played.
Ye- Yeah, but I mean the two are different. The Chicago Bulls are trying to win games, and the Pistons are not. Um, the Pistons are clearly not trying to win games, man. I just see some of the lineups that they're throwing out there, um, and some of the matchups, and it's just a complete hot mess. So they're punching their ticket. They're looking to get into the lotto and increase their odds
Yeah, that's a
of
fair.
getting.
My most intriguing BS was from none other than the young ball brother, LaMelo.
Mm,
Man, this kid is really impressing me right now. He's not. It wasn't the most impressive line of my week, but it could have easily been. Um, went back to back games with near triple doubles. And this one that I'm highlighting here, actually, he did get a triple double. Played a lot of minutes that game, but I mean, considering all things considered, he's coming off the bench. He's a rookie. He's the youngest player ever to get a triple double in the NBA. That is really intriguing stuff. I'll be the first to admit that I was absolutely wrong about him. I mean, it's still early, but and the 69% shooting is maybe aberration, but he's getting to the basket. He's taking, his shot selection seems to be okay from what I could tell. And he's hitting the threes, 3 3 pointers that game. Um, he's a pass first player, and he's still managing to put up impressive uh, scoring numbers. And then yeah, of course, we expect the assists, but the 12 rebounds, that looks like something that he can do pretty consistently. I expect the steal numbers to be higher. I mean, this guy's gonna be a fantasy stud once he gets even more opportunity in Charlotte. So, um, you know, shout out to him, man. I was wrong. He's been phenomenal.
yeah, he plays and he looks like a vet. Like he looks like he reminds me of like when I first saw Luca playing in the NBA, right? Like his just moves are just well composed. He's not rushed. He has good vision. And he's just overall just got good mechanics and feel for the game. So I've been thoroughly impressed as well, man. Like, man, I'll never forget like when I was like particularly low on ball as well. But after that first preseason game, the flashy passes that he was doing his first preseason game,
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy is telling and communicating to the world, to the universe, I am not a joke.
Yeah.
I am I am my own person, you
Now,
know.
now I understand the talks about the Knicks trying to move up or possibly up to get him. I was like, what? Move up to get Lamelo Ball? Why? Who do you? Nah, man. I mean, yeah, the Knicks are showing that they really need a point guard. They have done so for the past several games. And it comes every more clear every time they lose. But um,
And
yeah.
remember like Pop's face and his face when they got drafted to Charlotte, like just like stone cold killers, like like yeah, why are we going here? Like like we should either be number one or we choose the destination was like the vibe that I got. And I'm like, who are you guys?
You know what? In all,
And then I got it quickly. You guys know exactly what's going on, and you know the value of what LaMelo is going to bring to a franchise organization. So
yeah,
yeah,
he kept saying in his
kudos to young boy.
pre-draft interviews that he'll be happy to go wherever, but um, you know, I mean, let me see, go to Minnesota or go to
Mm,
Charlotte. I think I'd rather go to
mm,
Charlotte. Right?
Charlotte,
I think I'm,
Charlotte for sure.
I think he would have loved to gone to Golden State.
Golden State would have been fun. Golden State would have been fun.
Golden State.
Um,
That would have been
I
interesting.
don't know.
It would have been a fun
Yeah,
team.
I don't know why the Warriors. I think the Warriors are gonna regret not going LaMelo when it's all said and done, right? I think so many teams, you know, sometimes fall into the trap of going with the traditional pick, like the 7 foot, right? Because Wiseman is what? He's above 7 feet,
172, something
but
like.
he's athletic, I guess. But I mean, you just look at just how well, a bunch of, that type of archetype pans out.
Well, he's
It's
got some good potential. I mean, I think he can do some things that people didn't really get to see. I saw him catch. I think his first play against, I think it was Portland. He popped up from a pin down from Steph Curry, and he didn't even hesitate. He just popped a three, and it went in. Now I'm not saying he. I mean, this is gonna be he's gonna be like Marcus Aldridge or something like that. But um, I mean, his potential is probably really intriguing to them, and they needed a center. They don't have a center on their team,
that's fair.
so you know they already got their point guard, the franchise point guard, for at least another 5 years, let's say. Um, Lamelo would have been nice, but I think they were looking to fill the gaps. So, um, speaking of which, let's move on to the real BS of the week. And you picked somebody that is on my
It's very close to home, very
very
close,
close to home.
down the block. Yeah, I picked the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving.
Three DMP
Um,
last week.
yeah, I mean, and it's not that it was. I mean, of course, yes, naturally, it's because he had the DMPs. Uh, but it's like he never answered your text message, right? You know how you send someone a text message and you ask them, hey, what's the status? Hey, you coming? Hey, what's going on? And you do it, for consecutive days, and you just don't hear anything. Um, and then randomly a week later, you see some video with Kyrie Irving, partying with his sister, with no mask,
Is that
and you're
real?
like, I don't know. I don't know, right? Because the internet's a tricky place, and I know a lot of people make fake videos.
Did you see a video of
But
that?
yes, yes, there's a video of Kyrie Irving right next to his sister. It's probably like hundreds of people, and they're celebrating like it is
Celebrating what?
2019. Huh?
Celebrating what? What are we celebrating?
His sister's birthday. Celebrating his sister's birthday. But then again, I do not know if that's true. Like, it's one of those things where it's like one of the attendees from that party kind of posted this video to their social media post, and it leaked out.
My initial
I don't
thought.
know.
My
I
initial
don't know. I
thought
don't know if it's true. Um,
Kyrie's on my team. He's on my association team, and let me see. It was the last time he played was the fifth. It was on our day five, Founders Day, Cap Alpha Psi. 5 3 pointers, 29 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. Shot 63% from the field. If I'm not mistaken, the very next day, the United States of America's capital became under siege. On the same day, they announced that the cop in the killing of Jacob Blake was not being prosecuted.
Mhm.
Um, Kyrie, from what I understand, is a very socially conscious person, is deeply affected um, by these issues, as many of us in Black America are. And I'm going to make the assumption that this is why he's not playing. And there is a report that suggests the same thing.
Mhm.
Now, the part I don't understand is, as you mentioned, you send a you get a message from your coach, from your employer, for all intents and purposes. Hey, you coming to work? No response.
But those are this is what we learn, right? That is the rights that, these top performers or top players get, right? Like
I
he
mean,
he gets to roll by a different set of rules. Kyrie don't gotta let you know when he coming. You know why? Because if you want to know, then he could just demand to go somewhere else because he's to the market that good of a player.
I have a feeling that doing so, as talented as Kyrie is, doing so is just not in his best benefit. I mean, he's already had several. I mean, this guy, Kyrie just can't stay out the headlines for like the nonsense, man. I mean, you go back to the stuff about the quote about LeBron. Well, first the podcast quote with him and KD talking about not having played with somebody who can make the shot, and then he's got
Oh, I love that. he was, he was trolling. I mean, he was building his legacy, right?
all
Like,
the
like he's basically saying, you know, ain't no championship in Cleveland without me.
I mean,
Like
the
that
problem
was
with
that
LeBron
that's
is clutch
clever.
players.
That's a clever tactic. You know what he's doing there.
LeBron is as clutch as anybody that we know in basketball. Okay, so that's nonsense. But
Hey, but ain't,
to his
ain't ain't no
point,
win without that shot, man.
oh,
Ain't no win without that shot. And I don't know if LeBron got him in it to take that last one.
come on, man, it's LeBron, man.
That
Don't
that
disrespect.
last that last one though.
No, I
There's
mean,
just a
we know
there's
we
just a
know what he
there's
has.
a certain player.
There's a certain reliability when it comes to hitting those shots. I mean, Kyrie is one of the most creative shot makers in the league. You know, he's you more times than not you look at him shoot and you think he's gonna go in. So,
Yeah.
him, KD, Curry, I mean, Dame Lillard, certain guys that maybe you don't put LeBron in that class of shooter, but I mean, he's still LeBron. He's proven that he's a shot maker.
Hmm.
He's proven that he can score at will when he needs to. So, anyway, he's had that. He's had the lines about the media being pawns and not showing up for media day and this and that and third. I mean, he's had the lines about not having a head coach and we're going to coach by committee. Hey, he might not be wrong about that one, actually.
I
Um,
mean, they are coached by committee. They just hired, Steve Nash, who was like broadcasting for soccer. I mean, like yesterday, like Nats hire me. I'm available. I'll, I'll I'll work at a tenth of the price that you're paying Steve Nash.
that, that,
You
that,
know, and I
that was
and
serious.
I and I was, huh?
That was a interesting hire, but and we saw how Nash's inexperience with coaching has already cost him. Uh, you know, I'm just gonna point to one guy. I'm not gonna put pin multiple games on him, but I'm just gonna say there's a few things that are a little tricky for me. Like starting DeAndre Jordan over Jarrett Allen, that's been rectified, that's been corrected. But I was confused by that. And then I think I don't know if you were watching this game. They were playing. Who was it? Was it OKC? Or,
I missed the OKC game.
there was a
That's the most recent one that where they lost in the second half. Like OKC killed
game.
them in the second half, and they had like 70 points in the paint or something crazy.
Yeah, there was a
And
game.
Steve Nash looked
The last three.
depressed.
Yeah, Kyrie or Kate. I don't think Kyrie or KD played in that game. No,
Oh,
no.
so it's not the OKC then.
Okay, no, no. Maybe I'm wrong. No, maybe KD did play. I can't. No, no.
KD played in the OKC yesterday.
Whatever game it was that Karis LeVert had like 43 or whatever it was.
Mm.
Anyway,
Oh, the Memphis Grizzlies.
Memphis game. That's what it was. That's exactly what. Memphis game.
Memphis.
They were getting smacked, and then they came back. Karis LeVert went off, and they came back, and they were leading, and then they went cold in the third quarter for like 3 minutes. They went cold. Not one time during those 3 minutes did Nash decide to call a timeout. There's no timeout called to regroup. The offense was struggling to get good shots. Um, Jarrett Allen who was killing in the first half was on the bench for most of that time. They didn't make any effort to bring him in. DJ was getting killed. He was getting killed on pick and roll. Like
That's
he
DJ, man. That's
lost.
DJ.
He looked
That's
so lost.
DJ.
Uh,
DJ is like medic, medic, help,
you know,
medic.
I'm watching DJ like, yo, what happened to you, bro? Like, this is bad. Jared Allen
Yeah.
did not come back into the game until like there was a minute left. By that time, the game was over, man. The, like they kept. Uh, anyway, I'm not gonna belabor that point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's. I think I think they're playing the long game. Like
Uh,
there's gonna be ups, there's gonna be downs, right? And unfortunately, you go as far as like your superstars go, and KD. I mean, he's bothered, but he's just like this is he basically had the face in the press conference that this is the regular season. We'll clean this up because he goes ahead and mentions, yeah, we were playing the best defense like the other day, and today we're not playing good defense, but we'll get the consistency. And I'm just like, all right. Anytime you bring it up, your best tapes, you're just like, all right, don't worry about this. We can turn it on and off, when we like. To a certain extent, that's true. And I will say this to defend, to play the other side and defend my boy Kyrie Irving. I mean, unfortunately, he just gets a bad rep. There are some unfortunate things that he has said, um, right? But we also need to give him some space. We don't know exactly what's going on. Of course, we should all be the judge. Once we do find out what the story is. But I mean, for instance, we just recently found out that DeRozan was out for personal reasons, and I didn't hear anybody say anything about that. And it's just like, why don't we attack DeRozan because he's out for personal reasons? I know if I owned DeRozan in a fantasy league, I would be irate. Like, what you out for, man? Why don't you send your fantasy owner a text message?
I'm not. I'm not in any way. I'm. I'm a apologist for Kyrie as well, but um, it's not so much of like being out for personal reasons. You be out for personal reasons. That's fine. But like, I mean, you, you can't just like tell your coach that, listen, I'm for whatever reason.
Kyrie's Kyrie's coach as well,
Yo,
right? So
I,
naturally, he's told coach.
quotes. The quote is like, I just didn't feel like playing. Like, what kind? Like, all right. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. We're moving on to my real guest player of the week, Phoenix, and that was our guy, man. Our guy, Steph Curry, man. Like, shot 13% last night. Only hit one 3-pointer and turned the ball over 5 times. Like, that was not that. That was like, bad cooking, chef. Um, I
Yeah, he cooked with some bad milk or something. Like something was spoiled in that pot.
on a Sunday, like, you can't do that on a Sunday. Like, people
I
are
know on the Lord's Day.
it's just people are depending on your shot making to bring them over the hill on a Sunday and win them their matchup, and you come out and shoot 13%, the best shooter of all time. Come on, bro. I
But
can't
you,
have.
you
I can't.
know, you know, man. Like times are different, right?
I cannot.
During this pandemic, right? Like you go to the grocery store and you're trying to get some fresh sage or something, right? The grocery store might not have it. So what you end up getting is, some
Like the
spoiled and some rotten rosemary. And you cook up something, like what was this line? 13% from the field, right? I mean, they still came away with the W, right? So, the food was still edible. But the chef wasn't at his best.
the chef was not present last night, but man, he's number four uh this season in totals. He's having a great season. Um, and the Warriors are winning games, so shout out to them. All right, well, I think that concludes our recap for week 3 in association. Let's look ahead to our week 4 matchups. Um, Actually, I'm sorry. Let's before we do that, let's look at the transactions that took place this past week. We had 8 ads, 7 drops, and no trades this week. Um, just a one-liner thought on each ad drop up. Each ad drop this week. The Busters picked up Robin Williams, who was a hot name after he had a couple of really good games in Boston. I was interested, but I wasn't willing to pay that price. And now he's injured. So, um, but still a good pickup for Rucker Park. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, solid pick, solid bench store. I mean, his stocks are going up in Boston, and he brings those defensive stats that are much needed.
Yeah, certainly.
Next, Brooklyn Phoenix. My Brooklyn Phoenix picked up both Kelly Olynyk and Justin Holiday, and dropped Cameron Payne and DeAndre, old man DeAndre Jordan, to the waiver pile.
Yeah, we've discussed
Um, yeah, so Justin Holiday was
Holiday.
pretty much
Pretty good pickup.
um, was a
Then it
pickup more for the week because the Pacers have 5 games this week,
mm,
and COVID has kind of been really crazy, and so I wanted someone that could give some top 100 production and just use the quantity of games to produce a quality line at the end. And then the Olenek pickup was he's been playing really well as of late, and he's a great guy to I can put in if the matchup allows for it.
yeah, agreed. He's had some hot games. Lou Williams picked up by Solid State. I haven't looked at much of what he's done lately, but I know the last time I checked, he wasn't having a great season. So, any any idea there or what?
Yeah, so I drafted Lou Williams, and I gave him some time, but them lemon pepper wings is no longer good, man. Like Lou Williams is at the end of the road, man. Like you're asking for a whole lot, you know. depending on what you want Lou to produce. And he's already been on the down trajectory. I think he's pushing like 35 or something, or 36, whatever he is. But his role in the offense
Uh,
is is not good. His outlook is not good. I mean, unless they move him, they might move him to a team where he can get a bigger role. But I think the plan is to trade him. I mean, that was the signing of Luke Kennard off the bench. You know, because Lou Williams goes better with Montrezl Harrell. So
mm,
we'll see. So I'm not a big fan.
okay. Unfortunately, fortunately, and unfortunately for Rucker Park, Thomas Bryant went down, and I guess he had to make some cuts. He's I think probably has a few injured players on his team, and wanted to maybe need some roster space. But Thomas Bryant on the waiver wire, I don't expect him to be there for too long. I know there's some talent hungry teams that will gladly pick him up and store him on their bench for the rest of the season. Um, Patty Mills picked up in place of
Mhm.
him. Josh Hart also let go in place for Hamadou Diallo, who had a couple of good games against both New York teams. We'll see what if he can keep the streak up, but he's looked good. Uh,
Mhm.
I had to pick up of I had to let go of Josh Jackson, who I recently acquired in trade. But I think we talked about him a couple weeks back, and I said, if he's not looking good, I'll just let him go. And I know he came back from an ankle injury. He hasn't really been looking good. Um, I I'm a little bit just I'm gonna watch him, but I saw Tyrese Maxey, who I was thinking about before he had his explosion game of what do you have 39 points the other night.
He, yeah, he
Um,
was phenomenal. Like his career high NBA certainly, and also just eclipsing his college career high, which is absolutely nuts.
yeah. So uh only one high scoring game, and obviously they have a few guys out, so he had the opportunity. Philadelphia does had a few guys out, so but I've been watching him on the low in a few of his games, and I like that he sort of has a green light with Doc Rivers to shoot the ball, and I like his ability to score. And his last couple of games, including the one tonight, tells me that he can do a little bit of playmaking. So um, I'm intrigued, and I had to pick him up.
I've got a hot take on Maxi.
Yeah.
Um, I think in 4 to 5 years, he becomes a better player than Ben Simmons. I think he's got all the tools, yes, all the tools to be a better player than Ben Simmons. I mean, it's a little bit tough because of the defensive end, because Ben Simmons is one of the best defenders. But man, like his ability to score the basketball, like I've
Ben
watched.
Simmons is a all defensive player. He's an all NBA defensive player. Like he's a all league defender.
I,
And
I know, and you know what happens? You defend, your beach house because that's where you're gonna be spending the time, with a Ben Simmons and anybody pairing. It seems like there's nobody in the league that I can imagine to pair Ben Simmons with, man. And it all goes, oh, 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 I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole. It's gonna happen. Uh, Ben Simmons is a weird player in that I don't think anything has changed or progressed in his game from when he entered the NBA.
mm,
Like
mm,
the one glaring thing that people have been asking for or noticeable thing is to work on your jump shot. And I think he's working on it, but he's not doing it in the game, which is honestly one of the best places to do it. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, because I've got to imagine that coaches are also encouraging him to shoot the ball as well. I mean, just look at him in comparison to Jalen Brown.
Mhm.
Jalen Brown has gotten better every year, right? Like as much as we like made fun of him when he got that contract, which we thought, was ridiculous, and he was doing the dances. Man, he performed. I mean, look at him this year. Like he just continues to work.
But
And so I feel like I don't see like Jalen Brown couldn't shoot. I mean, he shot the ball, but I don't think he could shoot his like first year
no, but
or two. Like
he's willing to shoot in the game, and that to your point, that's what you're not seeing from Simmons is like that inability to shoot during the game is going to cost him because teams can play him from his lack of willingness to shoot. They're gonna continue to go under, and they're gonna game plan for him, and especially when it comes to playoffs. So, and we've seen now a couple of playoffs where he's basically just become like irrelevant, basically offensively. So
it's just bad. And then I don't know if you've watched the Sixers, but like Doc Rivers is trying to like kind of mask the offense. I mean, it's creative. It's a little bit different than what Brett Brown was doing at least, but he's having different guys be in the dunker spot. So like even have shooters kind of in that no man zone, just to kind of disguise and give Simmons and Embiid a little bit more room. I don't know what the numbers are and how well that's working, but I mean it's at least a try because that's another good point. Like I'm being unfair because I think Brett Brown is like one of the worst coaches of all time. Not all time, but he's pretty bad. And so maybe that played a little bit into the development because there's another coach that's been pretty successful that I don't think is a good um, development coach.
and who would that be?
Um, Steve Kerr. I think Steve Kerr is very overrated. And it's just he's just a guy in a golden suit, man. He got the keys when all you had to do was show up to work. Like life's been easy for Steve Kerr if you ask me. He was lucky enough to get Kevin Durant for 2 seasons, or was it three? Two or three? Three seasons.
Seasons, yeah.
3 seasons. And then basically Mark Jackson did all the work to develop Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, and then encourage Steph Curry's game. Um, and so he made a little tweak here and there, but I mean, from my standpoint, Mark Jackson did a lot of the hard work coming up with the defensive plan um, and yeah, and getting them to a better spot. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see um, how he develops some of these other players because I haven't seen Steve Kerr develop a player since. Um,
We haven't seen it because he's had mostly veteran established players, and a few guys that we can look at as you know potentially being developmental players were uh Kevon Looney, who people have been waiting for him for multiple years now. Still don't see it. As a matter of fact, I think he's not getting playing time as much anymore because Wiseman is there, and I think they're using Eric Pascal as a backup center now too. So he's
mhm.
now lost minutes to Eric Pascal. But even Eric Pascal, you don't want to look at him too much as being like a example of a player that he's developed because Pascal comes from a really good program who that Villanova uh, you know um, stock is pretty high. They're known for producing these players who come out and just know how to play. So um, I don't want to look at it and say Kerr had anything to do with his success necessarily. So yeah, I mean you got some good points there about Kerr. Um, our last
And then
transaction.
we'll see. we'll see with Wiggins and Oubre too. I will mention, right? Because
Yeah,
Wiggins is playing a tick better, but we'll see. We'll see if that holds on. Oubre's been awful, bloody awful.
yeah. I haven't seen much from Uber besides a couple of games. It looks like
He he looks lost and like a guy in the video game that just jams the L2 or the tip jam dunk button
yeah.
like every time there's a rebound up. He looks like what happened.
I'm out, but I'm out on. I've been out on Wiggins for a long time, but Ubre, I'm not giving up on yet. I think he just needs a better situation.
Ooh, so spicy. Who would you take, Oubre or Wiggins in fantasy?
I take Ubre. What you like
Ooh,
this season or just in general?
this season, like right now, like right now in Noop League, I've got a trade offer. Uh, I own Andrew Wiggins, and uh, Julian's offering uh, Oubre.
Um, Unfortunately, I think Ubre has a higher ceiling. I've seen higher come from him. That's it. I
Okay,
don't know.
fair.
I don't know if I, give me the evidence of Wiggins.
I mean, Wiggins, I mean, this year, I mean, he's been having these performances where he's blocking shots. Like, it's been one of the complaints is, man, block some goddamn shots. Um, this past week, he shot like 100% from the free throw line. So that's promising. Maybe he's actually putting in a little bit of work.
Okay.
Um, and I think his points, I think he can even get it up to like 20 consistently 20 points a game, 20-ish points a game. I think he's just overall surrounded by very good players, and hopefully they can show him the way. Like he is the ultimate player. Steve Kerr, like develop this guy. Like he has all the tools. Like this guy is. He just doesn't seem like he's all the way there. If you ask me, when I watch him, or when I used to, especially watch him.
I'm still out. I'm still out on him. Um, Last transaction. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but Jeff Teague was picked up by Cranston Killers, who I don't. I don't. I don't know that I see Cranston make a lot of pickups, so I thought that was an interesting one.
Yeah, I think that was a homer pickup. It was like, you know, my man, 'cause I think he's got, does he have him? Where is he at? Yeah, he's got Jason Tatum. And so Jason Tatum's out. So he's probably like, I don't know how long this COVID's gonna last. Let me pick up, um,
Fair
let me
enough.
pick up Steve. So, eh, yeah, meh.
Let's do some predictions for the matchups next week. Um, so we've got my Great Danes playing the Rucker Park Busters. Any predictions there? I think it's gonna be a close one. I think I see a lot of arguments for why Rucker Park should win this matchup. Given their play in the last couple of weeks. Um, we got to see which team shows up. But um, on my side, I've got a few guys out. Kyrie is out for personal reasons. Darius Garland is still not healthy yet. Um, and Tobias Harris is out for COVID protocol. Um, So I got a bunch of filler guys. I got a couple of fillers ahead. Bobby Portis is in my lineup, Kyle. Bobby Portis, the OG Bobby
That's
Portis is in my lineup.
that's my guy. He looks retooled with the Bucks. Like,
Has
you
some
know, playing with a good team. Like,
I like
he's
it.
been putting up numbers.
I
He's been
like
putting
it.
up good numbers,
Like
man.
what he's done. But he's in my lineup this week. Um, but I'm playing against Giannis. Playing against Giannis and Drew Holiday and you know Andre Drummond.
Yeah,
You know,
man. I look. I think this would typically be a difficult matchup, but I've got you as a heavy favorite here, man. You got Embiid on a 5 game week. You got Brogdon on a 5 game week.
Embiid
Sign
doesn't
me
play
up.
5 game weeks. Come on, Kyle.
I'm just telling you how many games he's got this week.
5 game.
Remember,
Three.
remember, Philly's got a big problem, right? Where they don't have, you know, their full roster. And so because you know you've got a lot of players that are still in the health and safety protocol.
If Embiid plays 3 games,
Um,
I'll be happy.
oh, he's certainly playing three. He's certainly playing three. If he doesn't play three, then something more than likely
I'm not
COVID
expecting that.
related happened.
If he plays three, I'll be happy. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're both gonna go with my team. I won't bet against myself. I'll just have some faith and hope that we pull this one out. Let's go to Amherst Speedsters versus True Grit. Number 4 versus the number 12 team right now. I like True Grit in this matchup. I just can't make the argument for Speedsters in this matchup right now.
Yeah, Speedster's team needs some time to grow. Has been my major takeaway. You know, he's playing. You know, just a team that just grinds it out, man. Like I'm gonna choose the team that grinds it out.
Yeah. Let me one quick note. Nurkic's line tonight. I don't know if he got hurt.
He
But
got hurt, man. The notification is still hanging on the
last
top.
week. Anyway, it doesn't look like
My
it's serious, but uh only played 8 minutes on not even 9 minutes tonight, 2 points and 2 rebounds. So that's not a good
left
sign.
left
Um
quad contusion
yeah,
is
but
the early
Shay's been
reports.
great. Shay's been great for him. Um
Mm.
yeah, I don't see unless unless injuries becomes a factor for True Grit, I just don't see him losing this matchup. Um, BBB de Madrid plays Beantown. The Beantown Bombers coming to town. Who you got? Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't even show the last our last matchup. All right.
Uh, BBB. So I've, in surprising fashion, have gotten BBB. And this was primarily the motivation here was the amount of games. I think BBB had a huge advantage as far as the amount of games that he's got this week. And it looks like he's starting to figure out a lineup that works.
Mm.
Um, and so you know, I'm in and betting that he can pull out what on the surface would seem like an upset. Um,
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, uh, Buddy Hield is starting out strong for the week. And we already went down a line of some guys who were playing well with Boucher and PJ Washington. So yeah, anything's possible. RJ Barrett has not been good uh, for several games now. Um, he's shooting. He hasn't shot over. I mean, over 35% in the past 4 games. I mean, it's been bad. Um, Kevin Durant is back though. He should be back, and with Kevin with Christian Wood, Zach Levine, Kyle Lowry. I think the Bombers have enough to win this one.
Remember, uh, so the Nets have 4 games this week. So they do have a back-to-back. Don't know if he's
I
gonna
think
play in both games.
I think even on a 3 game week for Durant, I think I still like Beantown to win this matchup. Um, let's go to the Celtics versus New York Knicks. Maybe actually we won't. We already decided that the bye week for the
Yeah.
Celtics. I think we both like the Celtics.
Mm.
Uh, your Phoenix plays the Cranston Killers.
Yeah. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I'm gonna rub that genie bottle and hopefully Paul George does something magical on Sunday. Actually, let me make sure that he plays on Sunday. Yes, he does. He plays on Sunday, and so yeah, that's my that's the way I'm gonna pull off this victory. Is Paul
Yeah,
George is gonna do something magical on Sunday? Because otherwise, I don't know how we put together the numbers. Like I've already benched Ben Simmons because I don't know.
and
I
he
don't. He's just too much. He's too much of a risk as far as like what he's gonna do
yeah, and he didn't
this
play
week.
tonight. So yeah, I mean no Ben Simmons, and you got kind of a hobbled Carl Anthony Towns, who did come back surprisingly last week, but only played one out of 2 eligible games. I, I think a lot of things have to go right in this matchup for you to win. I went Cranston in this one, um, but we've seen for these past several weeks that Cranston has some vulnerabilities, and potentially you could expose some of them. So, um, if Carl Anthony Towns comes to play and Plumlee, those big man stats that we pointed out earlier, I think you could easily lock those up, and then you've got enough with Paul George and Joe Harris and Devontae Graham. You should have enough firepower. Kyle Anderson, Keldon Johnson. You should have enough firepower to at least make some of those offensive categories competitive. So, um, it's a 3-5 matchup. Should be a good one. Money Midtown Moneyman plays the Blake Express. Um, I'm going with the Moneymen. I think they're hot. I think they're gonna keep rolling.
Yeah, I went with Blake Express here. And this was another of just brute force. Like he's got a 5 game advantage over the Money Man. And then Money Man's got a player out with personal reasons, DeMar DeRozan. And so there was just too much uncertainty for me to go with the Money Man in this matchup.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Makes total sense. Yeah, I haven't been looking at games played. I probably should stop doing that. Uh, F-
Yeah,
Frankfurt and Frankfurt Flyers play Solid State. Any thoughts here on this matchup?
Um, yeah, Frankfurt. This is just a hobbled team, and Solid State is one of the best teams in the association. So,
Well,
and you got Sabonis. You got Sabonis on 5 games.
yeah. What I was surprised to see you go with Frankfurt in this one.
I chose Frankfurt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whoa, yeah, that was
So maybe,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that was my bad.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. I was trying to see, but I didn't. I
Nah,
just couldn't.
maybe I was looking at the wrong week or something. But no, yeah, no, that's my bad. Yeah,
Correct that one.
yeah,
Um,
there's, yeah, just absolutely no way.
yeah, we'll correct. I think that was a mistake.
I
And
think I think I told you the wrong one too. My bad.
then finally, we have the Kings Landing Kings, who have been better than we expected to start out the season, due to the play of, you know, even though he had a bad game last night, Curry has been amazing overall. Bradley Beal, Bam, and our guy, the Mellow Ball, he's balling. Um,
No, man.
I look at that and I say, yeah, I could see the Kings taking this matchup. Um, any other thoughts on this on your side?
I mean, Syracuse Sparrows is really trying to lose, even though it's kind of tough because he's got just enough guys to kind of make things competitive. Um, yeah, I'm going with Kings Landing. He's got Beal playing incredible right now, and I don't foresee uh, too many bad games from Curry.
Yep, Beal playing absolutely incredible. Top 13 right now, giving depending on your league first round value. So um, as he should be.
Mhm.
Um, all right. Well, that's all our matchups. You know, any final thoughts before we close out? Anything you're looking forward to in week 4 of fantasy?
I'm hoping we continue this win streak, man. So far we've been off to a blazing start in the association. The Brooklyn Phoenix has been, putting together wins, any way possible. Hoping we could, pull off another upset, because it's been a tough journey outside of the first week. We've had a very tough schedule. Um,
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing Cat play another 2 games this week. Happy that he doesn't have the back to back this week, but he looked phenomenal in the game that I did get to see him last week. Although he was like clenching his wrist like every other play. He's got a brace on his hand. He's like,
Block a shot. He like he punched somebody straight on the backboard, and I was like, "Oh, okay, he's coming like that." But I was. It also made me nervous. I'm like, "Don't hurt your wrists again, man." But and shortly enough, he didn't play the next game, so I think they're obviously going to be careful with him and take their time. So it'll be a while before he's playing back to backs for you. I think, um, if at
yeah.
all. So
I was surprised at the amount of minutes he played that game. He played like 37 like, yeah. He played a lot of minutes for a guy that,
you're playing the Spurs, I
um,
think, right?
yeah, they're playing Spurs.
Yeah,
And then they beat the Spurs without him the following day.
of course.
The irony.
Yeah, yeah. Beasley went crazy. I think. Who's on my team? So I'm hoping for a repeat performance this week by Beasley. Um, yeah, he went crazy. He's producing some really good value right now. Top 64th right now overall. Had a against San Antonio had a 7 3 pointer, 29 point game. So if he can keep this up, shooting over 50% from the field, he's not giving me much in any other category besides scoring, but still doing so at an efficient rate. So not a lot of turnovers, hitting threes, hitting pretty good free throw percentage, and once in a while giving me a couple assists here and there. So he, he's been he's been good, especially rebounding, better than thought. Rebounding, almost five rebounds a game. So um, he's in my lineup this week and hoping for big things.
God.
All right. Well, if that's all, man. Like we good luck this week, and good luck to everybody else on their
Good luck.
week four. And hopefully we can get some mailbag questions from folks pretty soon. So yeah, leave us a leave us a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are. Well, and we out of here. Peace.
Peace. Stay safe.